Brant, we've got to talk Jared Goff. What do you do with him? I would ask you the question, does he deserve some of the blame? But I'll answer that for you. Yes, he does. Now, to what degree? That's debatable, right? But 10 turnovers in 4 games, I believe, is what the statistic is. And it seemed like a matter of 6-7 weeks ago, we're talking about Jared Goff and give this man the extension now, right? He's playing at an MVP level. He had been consistent enough from the second half of last year and then into this year. And it's like, okay, looks like we got our guy. Like, even at that time, it wasn't like Jared Goff's never going to be Patrick Mahomes. Okay. We all know that, but he was good enough within this system to win games. Now the question becomes, and I wanted to throw this out there to you, Brant, is what do you do with Jared Goff? Do you give him the extension? Do you toss a franchise tag on him? Do you let him go? I mean, where are you at with this?
Dave, I'm going to surprise you with this take, I feel like. I'm riding with Jared Goff, and I know the criticism against that is, and I feel like it's warranted, is we did this with Matthew Stafford, where we spent years just being okay, just being enough to get to the playoffs every few years, only to end up losing. But, Dave, I think at the end of Matthew Stafford's career in Detroit, everybody cohesively kind of said, yeah, but what did the Lions do for them? What did the Lions do for Stafford? What did they surround him with? Maybe 2014 was a year that they really put it all together, whatever. I get it. I think we have to stand behind Jared Goff right now. He had a bad game on Sunday, no doubt, and I've talked about him going outside and struggling. Dave, no more than that did he baby hand the fumble and have to, try to get it back. And it's just something that you have to live with Jared Goff. I mean, there's warts for quarterbacks. We have to live with Dak and his turnovers in the playoffs, right? Like, we know that. We've been there. We lived through Tony Romo. We lived through those days, Dave. Like, it was just like, but you were never going to ditch Tony Romo. Not in his prime. You definitely wouldn't have. Jared Goff is one of these guys that absolutely is capable of playing good football and winning you 11, 12, 13 games. I truly believe that. And I don't think that it's time to turn and run away from him so quickly. Dave, how often on this podcast do we talk about the defense? More than how the offense is struggling. I know that. And Jared Goff is a good system quarterback. He's not going to be scrambling. He's not going to be running to extend plays. And I know that we watch a dude like Justin Fields and we say, ooh, that looks pretty nice. Yeah, well, I've also seen Justin Fields play pretty bad football. Like, I understand there's two sides to that coin. I think that the extension is warranted in the fact of, we've talked about it earlier this year, he is a leader on this team. This feels like his football team. He feels like he can command this ship. The season's not over. We're not boxing it up yet. There's plenty left to go this year. And I believe that Jared Goff can lead them to a playoff victory. And if he leads them to a playoff victory this year, the monkey will be off the back. Dave, we're going to have to take a step back from that NFC Championship talk, I think, a little bit. But I think you're okay with that. Like, I think that was always a pipe dream for you, and you truly believed it. I think you really did, and I think you had reason to during the middle and the beginning of the season. Now that we're starting to play December football, it's starting to look like Jared Goff might not be the dude. And this is kind of where I was concerned about, Dave. Cold games, going outside. If this dude has to go on the road to win a playoff game, it's going to be difficult in an outdoor environment. Now, is that a reason to kick him to the curb? I don't personally believe so, but I think that Jared Goff can get you to a Super Bowl. Can he win you a Super Bowl? That's the ultimate question. I don't know the answer to that, but I don't feel like the answer is no.
I have such a weak take on this because I asked the question because I genuinely don't know where I stand on it. Am I placing the blame solely on Jared Goff? Absolutely not. Do I think it's an overreaction to say, like, we need to move on from Goff after this year, or like maybe a short-term deal and then get rid of him. Like, I think that's an overreaction to recent football. At the same time, like, to play devil's advocate, the thought of giving Jared Goff, like, I don't know, you even know what the numbers would be, 40 million plus a year for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years, whatever that contract looks like, terrifies me. It terrifies me because I look at this team, its makeup, its pieces, experienced and young. And here's my concern. We know what Brad Holmes built this team on, and that was in the trenches. He wanted to build that offensive line. His first pick was Penei Sewell, right? Like, that was the priority. They've surrounded Jared Goff with weapons. Amon-Ra St. Brown is a top 10, top 5 receiver, arguably. You had a 12th overall pick on Jamison Williams, who we think can be electric. We've seen glimpses of it. He's certainly a weapon. And Sam Laporta. Sam Laporta is already a top 5 tight end in this league. Jahmyr Gibbs looks to be a stud. David Montgomery, your bell cow back. Like, they complement each other well. I don't know, and I know that there have been injuries too. I certainly understand that. But if you talk about creating this nice safety blanket for Jared Goff, I think Brad Holmes knew that all along about Goff, and he tried to do it. My concern is right now, he is reverting back to old Jared Goff. And do I need him throwing it 300 yards a game and 2 touchdowns? No. But it's the turnovers, because the turnovers are absolutely that's what halts you from making a run. And it's going to halt you this year if he doesn't get it right. And it's going to halt you next year and the year after that. You cannot have, that is the one thing, is when it comes to ball security, taking care of the football in the playoffs, you just can't compromise that. And so, no, I'm not out on Jared Goff, but I am not even remotely comfortable giving him an extension right now until I see. Now, you're right, and you said get the monkey off the back if goes and wins a playoff game. Yeah, I I agree. Like, let me watch that happen, and then I'll kind of ease this take a little bit, because I'm not hard one way or the other. But that's where I'm at right now. Go ahead.
So, Dave, you're going to talk about a problem, which I think I'm going to hold your feet to the fire here a little bit. I'm going to ask for a solution then. We know Brad Holmes. We know how he operates. He's not going to go into free agency and sign a quarterback. He's not going to trade Jared Goff. I don't believe anyway. So I think his only answer is Hendon Hooker. Do you think going into next season, if Jared Goff walks, whatever happens with Jared Goff, would you feel comfortable with this team and Hendon Hooker coming into next season?
No, I would not. And I think this is a fair question to ask, because what I don't see something getting done in free agency. I don't know. Maybe there's some trade. Like, I have no interest in like a Kyler Murray. Let's just like throw a name like that out there. I don't have interest in him. I don't think he moves the needle. The only possible solution, and we haven't seen this yet from Brad Holmes, because he tore this thing down and he did it through the draft and has built it up to what it is today, to his credit. The only possible solution is to pull a move like the Rams or like the 49ers, when they missed on Trey Lance, but they went all in. And that is the stockpile picks. You're in a quarterback loaded draft right now. And do you do something like that? I don't know. Do you trade a first, a second, a future first round pick to move up and go get your quarterback of the future? And you only do that if you genuinely believe after this year that what you saw is just like, that's the cap. Like, they can't get over that next hump. Now, you might lose some more games then next year, right? If like that's the move. I'm just going to throw a name out there, Brant. Let's say they draft Caleb Williams or Drake May, okay? Those names may sound like, oh man, that would be crazy in this off. Like, you're probably pushing this thing back a couple of years to expect any rookie to come in and be the savior of your team at the quarterback position. But if you're building this thing for the long haul, maybe that is the move. Maybe. I don't know. And I think that would turn off Lions because once you get a taste of it, right? Like Lions fans right now have a taste of winning, and we're sitting here with 4 losses in, mid-December and picking apart this team. Like Lions fans are not used to this. And so to go back to like, well, let's bring back this rebuild a little bit and be patient with a young quarterback, I don't think that appeals to the fan base. But I think that's the only solution I can think of, unless there's some trade out there that I am unfamiliar with. So I don't know
Well
your
then,
thoughts on that.
well then that begs the question. It has to. Then why draft in the third round a broken quarterback? Then if he's not going to be a part of your plan or he's going to be a career backup, what are you doing taking him in the third round if he's not going to be a part of the future? Especially because you knew that he couldn't come in from day one and be a player on this team. So you have to go out and you have to sign a Teddy Bridgewater and you had to do all those things. So what is the plan? Dave, if you're telling me that he's stockpiling picks and he's going to move up for this year, then that pick makes no sense. And that doesn't check out. So I think Brad Holmes has some explaining to do this offseason. It starts with whether they extend Jared Goff or not. But if it doesn't, then what's the plan for Hendon Hooker? That's my question.
A couple of thoughts on that. The first is, look, if it's a missed pick and he misread it, and yeah, it could be a wasted pick. I think Hendon Hooker can be your backup quarterback. Like at the his floor is a QB2, a very good QB2. I think. I mean, I haven't seen him throw a ball in the NFL yet, but from what I saw at Tennessee, he's an older guy to his experience, good character, all of that. Like I could see him being your QB2, where you don't need a Teddy Bridgewater on your roster next year. Maybe that's what you use the third round pick on, because this team has never had a backup quarterback ever in my lifetime. I don't think that was worth talking about. Now, this year, they obviously got Teddy Bridgewater because Hendon Hooker's recovering from the knee injury. But look, if Brad Holmes missed on this pick, Brad Holmes is allowed to miss on a pick because he's hit on a whole bunch of other ones. And I'm okay with that. So we'll see. Maybe the plan all along is for Hendon Hooker to come in and be that guy, but I don't think putting him in next year as your QB1 makes this team any better. In fact, I think it probably makes them immediately a couple games worse. And so you're stuck in this sort of purgatory world right now where they've got to figure it out. And we could be jumping the gun on the conversation. I could be jumping the gun even asking the question. But look, I'm very concerned to sit here and not talk about Jared Goff turning the ball over 10 times in 4 games, and like silly turnovers too. It's really the fumbles too. Like it's messy. It's a short stint after very good, reliable football for a very long time from him. So there's a good chunk of evidence that says this could be fluky. There's a whole nother chunk of evidence taking us back to his days with the Rams, where Sean McVay and these guys said, get out of town and we'll attach a first round pick just to get you out of here, because they were done with him. And I don't know. I don't know which Jared Goff. I've seen both. They're two very different quarterbacks with some similarities both times. He's a game manager. He can make the underthrows. He can do those things. We know that about Jared Goff. But if he's turnover prone, Jared Goff, count me out, because you don't win playoff games with turnover prone quarterbacks.